Hello and welcome back to the Fairbanks Year-Round Podcast. I am your host, Blake Schreckeis, and as you may be able to tell, it's going to be another a solo episode. So, of course, I'm a real estate agent here in Fairbanks, and today I wanted to speak a little bit about real estate. So we don't do much of that. And something that has been on my mind recently with different research and everything I've been doing is what actually sells homes. So we've had like record low, and this is nationwide, but also in Fairbanks, record low amount of inventory in our market. And when I talk about inventory, that is homes actively for sale. So we have buyers, things have slowed down as far as from like 2021 where things were just going bananas. But the amount of houses coming on the market has just been dramatically reduced by a pretty huge number, but that seems to be turning around. And I think we're going to get more into just having more inventory on the market, more people selling their houses. So what I wanted to talk about was what actually sells houses and maybe some things that you think might sell houses that don't actually sell them. So, in this, we're going to be looking at a study done by NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, and they survey, I should say, a bunch of home buyers and sellers, and it's the biggest study that I am aware of. So, is it perfect? Probably not, but it's probably the biggest representation that we're going to see across the nation. And the one thing I'm going to focus in on is where buyers found the home they purchased. So, and this is not going to, if you go back and add up these percentages, I think it adds up to like 102% or something like that. It's not a complete 100% because some of them are like, hey, this is less than 4%. This is a little bit less than 1%. So it's kind of rounding some of these. So it's a little bit more than 100% when you add them all together. So I just want to point that out. But the first place, the number one place that buyers are finding their home is the internet. Shocking, I know. So I was not around when this was the case, but before even cell phones, let's say, way back when, every brokerage had a book, the MLS, I don't know what they called it, of all the listings available from their office and all the other offices. So if you had a new listing, you would have to either deliver or the other people would have to collect like a new MLS sheet saying, hey, here's the information about this listing. And setting up home showings, of course, is very different than as well. It sounds like you would just go collect keys and do one tour. So it was much harder to see houses, and the real estate agents were like the only place to find them. Then we had cell phones, of course, and getting stuff done was a little bit easier there. But then the internet came along, and what most people think of, Zillow, was the big disruptor where everybody was then able to see pretty much every house that's listed active on the market. And it's obviously worked. And I think this is a great thing. At the time, I'm sure, at least I've heard, agents were thinking, hey, this is going to be the end of the industry. Who's ever going to need a real estate agent? And it's gone now, like per capita, there's more agents for houses than ever. So we're still necessary, I guess. I don't know if that's a good thing for you guys, but for me and my job security, that's that's kind of nice. But you are able to find the house that you want more or less on your own, which is great. And you'll have questions, need more details and stuff, and the agent can do that for you. Then, of course, the showing process and everything after that is a little bit different, but we're just kind of stopping at how actually people find the home, not just find homes, but find the home that they ended up purchasing. So 52% of people are finding it on the internet. The next highest one is real estate agents, which is 28%. So 28% is much smaller, almost half, you could say, but still a pretty good percentage. That's us, sending a listing to our clients, which is a big part of what we do, telling them about it and drawing their interest to it. The next one down, I have to skip around a little bit, is a friend, a relative, or a neighbor has told you about the house. The next one from there is a home builder or their agent. So if you're not buying new construction, which I've just been hearing a lot of home sales nationwide, like 30 some odd percent are home sales are new construction. And if you look at Fairbanks, ours is not, that's almost 1 in 3. We do not have 1 in 3 of our sales being new construction. We have such a reduced amount of new construction here compared to the rest of the nation. So it's kind of a little bit different. But so if you're buying a new house coming from a new home builder, 6%, I don't think that would be near as high here. Just because we don't have as much new construction. The next one down would be yard sign, open house signs at 4%. And then it goes directly from sellers or new the sellers, 3%. And then the last less than 1% is print newspaper advertisement, So let's dig into those a little bit more. And I want to kind of talk about what I do when I go to sell a house as representing the seller and what I lean into. And obviously, what I'm leaning into is obviously being a real estate agent and my communication with clients, with other agents, and getting people to know as much about the house as possible. And then I pretty much lean all of my advertising towards internet now. Because between those two, between myself, just being a real estate agent and the connections I have and growing that, I make anywhere right around 150 calls or more a week, just trying to connect people with houses basically in various ways. The internet's the next one. And so I put all my efforts towards getting it to all of the sites, the Zillows and everything, which is what most people do. And then also advertising on Facebook, Instagram, things like that to push it out even further. Now, some misconceptions, the 4% that you have, that's yard signs, open house signs. That's 4%. That's any sign at all. So they put yard sign, open house sign. That could be a new construction sign that you saw and you went and bought a house from a new construction neighborhood, because this is a nationwide. We don't really see much of that around here. That can be for sale by owner signs. So they conglomerate it all together, and the best they could do is 4%. And that also includes open house sales. So open houses are a big field. It's a big area that agents use as promotion to say, hey, I'm going to sell your house. I'm going to do open houses. And from what I've seen, open houses rarely sell houses. So what it does do is it gets new buyer clients and sometimes seller clients for your agent. That's how they collect a bunch of their clients, by doing open houses. In more rural areas, it doesn't seem to work as well. Like if you get in a big city, and I used to live in a somewhat bigger city, you'd get, 25, 30, 40 people coming through an open house. That just is not the case in places like Fairbanks. You get a couple people popping through. But again, it's mostly to get new buyers for that agent. They're not necessarily going to buy your house, or to let the neighbors know that you're doing a good job marketing this house. So maybe you can get another house to sell down the street as an agent. Now, of course, they've put it all together at that 4%. I've heard studies as low as 1% of the times that somebody goes to open house, they're getting a buyer at an open house. With nowadays, the way we do individual showings and how much easier things have gotten, the way we schedule them and everything, most people are going to their own showings, and open houses are not really selling houses. And when we're talking about open houses, like, well, why not do them? There are some safety concerns that come along with just letting a bunch of random people into your house. And yes, we do try to stick with everybody as they come into the house. But if you get a lot of people at once, do you want them to say, hey, wait at the front door? No, we're letting one person in at a time. And then we do have a sign-up sheet generally at open houses, but they could just put, whatever. I've gotten mini Daffy Ducks and things like that. Just put fake information on there, because you're not going behind and checking, or even, a more realistic name. You may just not know that they're doing that. So there's a safety concern there. And again, it's very unlikely to actually profit you from getting you an actual buyer to your house. The next one's the yard signs. And this one's, again, it's just not very likely. I think most of the yard sign sales are the home builder yard signs. Like I said, 30% of nationwide, around 30, I don't remember the exact percentage, are new construction sales. So they're counting each one of those new construction sales that saw the big yard sign and they went into the mock house and they picked their finishes and stuff. That would be considered a yard sale sign there. So yard signs are easy to put up. I still like putting yard signs up, of course, but again, just being kind of aware of those. There's a little bit of a safety concern. I think it's way less than an open house. It invites people to know that you are selling your house, obviously, and that's the benefit of it. But also, you get a lot of looky-loos, people just walking in the front yard, and oh, I didn't have an appointment. I was just curious. Thought I'd ask you a few questions. That can be a little irritating or even a little dangerous. But more importantly, vacant houses up here, we have like a pretty big issue with. If you have a little cabin that has a Toyo heater in it, getting that stolen. When you have a real estate sign, it's like a big sign saying, hey, come check me. I'm vacant. And if it is vacant, go take this Toyo out of here. So they're getting targeted quite often and getting Toyos stolen. So just be aware of that. It's unlikely to make your home sell if you're okay with that. Again, I think in most cases, it's pretty minor. Or if you're selling something vacant that has a Toyo, most people are taking their Toyo out, storing it somewhere else. So that doesn't happen in particular to this area. Excuse me. Whew. And then we'll keep on going down. The friend, relative, friend, relative, or neighbor is, it's just that. So this is 8%. It's a pretty good, it's third out of all of those. This is not a bad way to do it. So if you're looking for a house, or if you're the seller and you want to sell a house, you should be telling everyone you know that you're selling your house. And some tips to do that is, one, get a list of all the people that you have any kind of relationship with and just call, text, email, like whatever, like the favored contact is. Be like, hey, just so you know, I'm selling my house, or hey, just so you know, I'm looking to buy a house. If you hear of anything, just let me know. And people, people want to help, and they'll be like, oh yeah, I had a friend who was looking for a house. Let me connect them up and see if you can get it sold. Or I have a buddy who's selling a house. Maybe you'd like to buy it. That's in fact how I found our last house, which is a funny story. So we're buying a house down a street that we like. Some little snafu came up, and we were no longer able to buy that house. Sorry, my phone was going off. Didn't put it in airplane mode. I didn't have a guest with me today, so I'm just not doing very good here. But anyways, that house deal fell apart. We already put our house that we were living in under contract, so we were going to have to move pretty soon. And I was pretty distraught. I was like, I don't know what we're going to do. We're going to run out of time. We're going to have to, I don't know, move into a rental or a short-term stay somewhere until we can buy the next house. Well, funny enough, my wife was telling one of her friends this story and kind of like, oh, I can't believe this is happening. And she's like, oh, I have a friend whose neighbor is on that street who is selling. And this was like same day, like the deal fell apart on Friday. So I shouldn't say same day. This was Sunday. They're like, hey, they're having a garage sale. Go by there, check it out. And I bet they'll take you through the house before it even hits the market there. And sure enough, that ended up being the house that we bought. And that was 100%. I am an agent, but that was through my wife's friend connection there before it hit the market. I was able to get that house. So always make people aware. Another thing you can do is whenever anybody, even if they're not friends or whatever, you just talk and you say hello to someone, they'll always say something like, hey, how you doing? Or what's going on? How's life? Something like that. When you see them, you say, hey, I'm good. I have been looking for a house, and just kind of talk about that a little bit, because people want something to talk about beyond just small talk. So that makes people feel useful. And yeah, again, why not? 8%, not a bad way to get it. We're going to kind of skip the home builder or their agent again, because we just don't have a bunch of new construction here. So if you see some new construction, you want to talk to them and see what's going on, I guess you can. And then directly from sellers, or they knew the sellers. This is just, again, this I think kind of relates back to the friend, relative or neighbor, where it's, hey, if you know somebody and you got a good connection there, then go ahead, connect it up and make that sale happen. And then lastly, the print newspaper advertisement, less than 1%. It doesn't say how much less than 1%. I'm assuming pretty low. I don't know. I've stopped doing, in particular, newspaper ads. I don't know. I only did them for a short period, to be honest, because I've been selling for 7 years, and 7 years ago it wasn't effective. I don't think that has changed. I think there's some arguments for doing mailers and things like that. But again, those are really better advertisement for the agent to get new clients than they are for your house to get a buyer. Like it's this weird balance where, and I should have explained this more at the beginning, but a listing, which is your home for sale, a well-priced listing is known by all agents to be the best form of advertising to get more clients. And there's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. An agent that knows how to market themselves and get more clients and does a good job for their clients, like hunky-dory, that's the whole point there. However, what happens is people take this listing and they milk it for all it's worth, which again is great. Why not? As long as the client is not being adversely affected. And again, things like open houses, stuff like that, I think they're just not really that helpful for the client. And I think there are some safety risks that we should be aware of, just letting anybody roam through your house, especially nowadays. So just being aware of those. And then the other side too is beyond just like being harmful to your client is I think a lot of agents present them as things that they're doing to sell your house. And since then I have a marketing strategy that I present when I, get a listing and such. And I've kind of just taken those out of there. I used to have them there as well because it's what every agent did. But I've taken those out because it's like, listen, yeah, I do these things that get me more business, but they're not necessarily really helping you. So I just want to talk about the things that are mostly helping you, because that's the marketing strategy you should worry about. And if none of these are adversely affecting you, if I'm doing a mail out to the neighborhood saying, hey, pick your neighbor, whatever. There's a bunch of different things you can do. If I'm trying to leverage that to get myself some more clients, again, that's what business is you're doing the thing that you're doing. If you're a cake baker, you're baking cakes, but a big part of your business is marketing to people to let them know that you bake cake bakes. So anyways, there's always two sides of that. And a listing is the best form of advertisement for an agent to get more clients. And they say for every good, well-priced listing, you should have at least one more transaction domino off of that. My words are not working today. So this is going to be a fun episode to listen back on because I feel like I've been stumbling quite a bit. But anyway, so we know that we like to get listings, we like to make sales. We're salespeople. Obviously, this is how we make our money, but we want to leverage those to the max. But just kind of be aware of those, and I'll go over them one more time here at the end here. But what's actually selling your house and things that are actually moving the needle, and in my opinion, the internet is really the number one thing you need to be focused on. The real estate agent and their communication strategy, and then how they are leveraging the internet through advertising and such, and getting it in front of as many buyers as possible. Those two things together is 80% of where buyers are finding their, where buyers are finding the home they're purchasing. Yes. And sellers are getting their home sold. And then the rest is kind of back on friends, relatives, neighbors, directly from the sellers, your own personal connections there. So if you want to add to that and leverage it out to where you get really close to that 100%, those are the way to do it. So again, one more time, number one is internet at 52%. Buyers, that's where buyers found the home that they purchased. Number two is a real estate agent at 28%. Number three is a friend, relative, or neighbor at 8%. We on five. Five is the home builder or their agent at 6%. Six is the yard sign or open house sign at 4%. Seven is directly from the sellers or knew the sellers at 3%. And eight in the final way is the print newspaper advertisement, which is less than 1%. So I hope that was helpful. And again, if you want to sell your house, I know how to do that. I know how to do that. I may just re-record this whole thing, or I may just send it out. I don't know. This was kind of a rough one, guys. Hope it's helpful, though. Thanks. Bye. Hey there. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more content from AK Blake, you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, all under the handles AK Blake. Or if you want to listen to more podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts, it's there, Fairbanks year-round. You may or may not know, I am a local real estate agent here in Fairbanks with the Summit Realty Group. So if you like what I'm doing and you want to move to the area, you already live in the area, or you're looking to invest further into real estate in the area, you can reach me. Probably the best will be either my website, akblake.com, my email, blake@akblake.com, or my phone number is probably the fastest, 907-651-8356. You can call or text. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next one.